everybody. Welcome to What the Fuck is Wrong with Us. I'm your host, Arton Baleci, and I am joined this week by writer, director, producer, John Langridge. How are you doing, John?
I'm very well, Arton. Good to see you again.
Yeah, we were just talking before the call. It has been quite some time. I'm sure we'll sort of get into that as we go on. But John, can you tell everybody, some people might be familiar with your work, others won't be. Can you tell everybody what it is you do and how you got started in it as well? Well, just what it is you do.
Yeah, I'm a independent filmmaker, in the truest sense, independent, which means I'm a writer, director, and producer. And I specialise in horror, sci-fi, and thrillers. That kind of genre, very much genre pictures, movies rather than films. I've just completed my third feature as writer director. My first film, 4, premiered in 2011. I didn't write that one; I directed that one. That starred Sean Pertwee, Craig Conway, Kirsten Waring, and Martin Compston. That was a thriller set in a warehouse. And then I followed that up in 2019 with 13 Graves, which is a straight horror, which I wrote and directed. And that starred Kevin Leslie, Jacob Anderton, and Morgan James. And that was kind of a gangster horror mashup. A bit like, what do we call it? Reservoir Dogs meets The Wicker Man. So that was that one. And then we've recently just completed filming on my third feature, which is Charlie Shaw's Revenge, working title, because a lot of people don't like the title. So we're looking, it's a working title, Charlie Shaw's Revenge, which is a horror set in a theme park before it opens, where a clown, Charlie Shaw, is getting revenge on the people. Charlie Shaw's Revenge is getting revenge on the people who fired him and sort of treated him terribly. Stole everything he had years ago. And we've got a great cast for that. So that's what we've just completed. Literally finished filming about a week ago.
We've been trying to coordinate this for a few weeks, huh?
Yeah, we have, haven't we? I've been like, no, I can't do it then. I've still got bits to shoot. We were talking earlier about the real horror character of the film, which is the weather. But trying to film a film in Britain at night outside, most of it's set outside because it's a theme park. So most of it, you're around the grounds, and we're around the grounds and surrounding woodland of this theme park. So we were just literally fighting weather the whole time. I should say a little bit about. Do you want to say a little bit about the film? Kind of fresh?
Please do.
It was basically the whole idea of it. It came from one of my co-producers, Renato Perez, who runs the East Sussex School of Circus Arts, which is attached to Knockhatch Adventure Park in Hailsham in East Sussex. And we were just talking about. I mean, he's a filmmaker himself, and we were talking about various, film ideas and everything. He said, "Come down to the circus and have a look." And we was like thinking about clown ideas. He had two big tops and all the stuff that comes with it, all the costumes and props and all that. And I said, well, look, we can make a film, but there's a massive theme park behind your tent, so I don't know how we're going to master it out. He went, oh no, I'm sure we could film in there as well. And I went, oh, hang on, we might get this location. So we immediately went and sought out Colin Jaggers, who is the owner of Knockhatch, and he very graciously, probably not knowing what he was letting himself in for, went, yeah, sure, as long as you film outside the hours, and obviously don't leave anything behind, no prop knives, no horror, anything left behind. Make sure you clean up after yourself and shoot outside park times. And he just let us run all over the park, filming everywhere, and free and open access to the park. So absolute massive shout out to him. As I said, I don't know if he was lit.
That sort of location's a dream come true, huh?
It's an absolute dream location. And he was, as I said, really kind, and also let us use all of his equipment. Like we would just use like quad, but he's got quad bikes. We had a brilliant truck, this brilliant beaten up old pickup truck that we used as a vehicle in the film, and like branded. The thing we did, because obviously, and one of the other things he said is he didn't want not it to be like not catch.
Yeah.
Use the location. Thank us for using the location, but he had a chat with his partners in the park, and we all decided that we weren't going to show not catch as actually the location. So all of the we had branded signs that went over the signs. Forrestal's Funland, it was called, which is the name of the character who runs the park. So all these signs had to go over the not catch signs. A couple we missed, which I'm going to need to. Another part of the editing is to CGI those out. But yeah, we just kind of unidentified it, and it had to look like a park that had been closed for the. There's a park that had been closed for the pandemic and never had the chance to reopen. So there was a sense that everything was just being reopened and rebuilt. So we distressed and dressed. We had a great production designers, Evie Todd and Laz Warwick, and their team. They came in and distressed everything and just made it look like it was just being rebuilt. Quite a lot of stuff wrapped in plastic and like sheets and things everywhere, and pots of paint and things. And there had to be like some rooms had to be smashed up, by the clown running riot through the park, and people kind of they kind of part of the story was like what's happening here. And so I remember once they just totally trashed this office, just totally made it look like everything was broken, and it was like sugar glass and broken phones and things, and people were walking in. But we were building it while we were building this sort of area while the park was open, and a couple of people walked in and went, "Oh my god, what's happened? We've been burgled." We had to say, no, it's actually like done as a set. So loads of stuff that was done like that. So yeah, we've just, as I said, literally just come off that. We had a horror film. Horror films live and die on their on the kills, really. So we had a fantastic makeup artist in Kate Griffiths. She'd Fright Fest won a part of the competition is Best Kill, and she'd won Best Kill for this fantastic kill she did for the filmmakers for Hosts, the 2020 film. Where someone gets their head staved in, basically live with a hammer, and it's just this brilliantly done. So I remember when we were scouting around for a makeup artist, I saw this, because I'm friends with the filmmakers, and I watched this kill and I thought I've got to have her, and she really outdone herself in this. There's some really nice kills.
That's the sort of terminology usually I'm at, so you're fine.
But the weird thing about horror films is that they are a lot of fun to make. Even though you're kind of doing scary things, there's so much fun in getting, and just when you get a really good, especially an in-camera effect, really works. There's just a real kind of sense of absolute joy in it working. Especially when you get it in camera, because film audiences, they're really savvy as to how things work. So they know if you cut away and back again, they're like, oh yeah, you had a chance to read it. But when you can get it in camera and you get that invisible effect, it's really, really satisfying. So I really, once we've cut this all together, it'll be, I can't wait for people to see the stuff that we've done. I should shout out to our DOP, Nathan Gardner, who's a really, really, he's a local DOP, and he's a real find for us, because he worked doing several videos and things for Renato as well, and he's just a brilliant DP, and we were able to really, really sort of move quickly through the stuff that we had to do, and the lighting that he put together was really good, really, really atmospheric, and just brilliant. I'm going to work with him forever now. He's mine. No one else allowed to use him. No. I'm sure he's going to be in demand after this. Should say something about our cast as well. We had the lead was Keris Knighton, who's again, most of the actors are locally based, and she was great. She plays Marion, who basically, because the park's reopening, she comes into the park. She doesn't know anyone. She's the new manager that the boss has employed to take over and get things back on track and kind of make savings and fire people where they have to be fired. So when she starts seeing this clown wandering about, she's already made herself massively unpopular. When she starts seeing this clown wandering about, no one believes her. So there's that kind of like, she's like, there's something going on, and because she's already ostracized herself, and she's ostracized herself from everybody. No one believes what she's seeing, and no one takes her warning seriously. And she had a lot of heavy lifting to do in terms of like the journey that she had to go on, and hated by everyone. So, but yeah, really great. I mean, really, really great cast. We had Bill Fellows from Coronation Street, and Ted Lasso, and Mark Benton, who's in Anna and the Apocalypse, and loads of telly veteran. And playing the villainous Forrestal, we had my mate Neil Burgess, who's an very old friend of mine who I've known longer than you, even, Arton. And he played, you probably know him from Barry Scott from the Sillet Bang adverts.
Oh, wow.
Barry Scott. He's a friend of mine, Neil Burgess. I've known him since we were both 16. So I just said, do you want to come down and play this like villainous, park owner who's like getting everyone fired and everything? And he's like, yeah, I'll come down. So he's got, a couple of really nice scenery chewing scenes. And the Killer Clown, you've probably seen some of the pictures and posters.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures. I'll try and if it's all right, I'll edit one in while we're talking now, so people can see.
Yeah, that's James Payton. He's again done loads. We're really, really lucky to get him. He was, I don't know if you know, do you see Captain America? The Captain America, the First Avenger. He plays Hitler in the scene where Hitler's sort of bouncing around and sort of gets decked. And he's in Harry Potter as well. He plays the dad of one of the characters, father of one of the characters in Deathly Hallows. I'm not a big fan of Harry Potter. Okay, that sounds wrong. I'm not a big fan and don't follow it. My kids would tell you. Exactly who he played. So, but yeah, he's in Harry Potter.
This is all, you were saying that you're going to sort of get the film into festivals next summer, and it'll be released sort of end of next year?
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it, I think, is to get it some sort of word of mouth. And we took the pitch, a little bit, so we shot a little bit before Cannes. So we were able to take some images of what we'd done to Cannes last year in May. This May, just gone. And we got some interest from it. People saying, oh, yeah, can't wait to see it when it's done and everything. So, I mean, the idea was to have it done by then and then get some interest, get it out to the festivals, generate some interest, and then get it onto general release, hopefully. I got a film on Netflix. 4 is on Netflix, so, great to get it on Netflix. Let's see if we can't get it on Netflix. But, yeah, it's another, the fun bit is editing, really. It's getting the whole edit together and just making that work. So yeah, that's us now. That's me completely. I'm completely out of brain fried dealing with this film at the minute. So
I said to you before, I can only imagine, like, I write a book, I sit in front of a screen. It occupies every sort of piece of my brain for the months or years that it spans. I can only imagine adding a sort of massive managerial overview into that. You're not just trying to create something, you're coordinating all of the moving parts, all of the people, you're fighting against the weather. Like, I don't think that people understand, especially with you being an independent filmmaker and you being a producer, sort of pulling the whole thing together from nothing, like out of the ether. I know with help from people, but
Oh yeah, I mean,
um,
I couldn't do this on my. Absolutely, you couldn't do it on your own. I mean,
yeah.
fortunately, I got a brilliant producing team in Justin Hayward and Renato Perez, and it was the three of us basically. I mean, particularly Justin, he kind of had the bigger. There was Renato because it's his school. He was really like he was on the ground and making stuff happen and making sure we had things. But Justin had kind of the sort of big picture and just making it, you know, just sorting out the stuff that would just come up, and you're like, "Wow, how did that come from?" And he'd be like, "Got it, got it, got it, got it," and just totally like catching. Because I was almost like turned inwards to the set,
Yeah, of course.
producing um, and producing what goes on here. But behind me, I had I had Justin and Renato, just to use the American phrase, quarterbacking everything. Just making sure that stuff happened. I mean, I absolutely couldn't have done it without them. And yeah, I think the three of us, we'd go and have these little producer huddles where we'd just be like, okay, so what's happened? This. Okay, how do we get around it? This. We'll do this, and this. I mean, even down to transporting people, because Knockhatch, the location is not near any public transport, so you'd have ferrying backwards and forwards to the train station, and just stuff like that you haven't thought of, and
Yeah.
you're finishing at 3 a.m. You go, okay, we're finishing at 3, and then you're like, and how does everybody get home? And then you're like, in a big Hollywood film, you'd have a fleet of cars, and everybody would be getting into their fleet of cars, but we had like 2 or 3, and Justin was driving one of them, so he'd just go, right, okay, I'm off. I'm doing the Magical Mystery Tour, and I'm dropping people back to the various places that they needed to be. So
you need a Scooby van next time.
Yeah, just driving it round, and that's it. I mean, that's it with independent. We did have money, but we didn't have a lot of money. I mean, in the studio films, again, they're done to budget, but they have what we call a money hose, and fantastic. I'd love to have one of those where you just go make that happen. There's money in the budget for that size contingency, the money to do that, but you don't. This is the sharp end. Independent film is the sharp end, where you don't have money. You have to be inventive. And when things go wrong, you can't go, oh well, we'll stick another couple of days on that. There's a finite amount of time and a finite amount of resources, and you have to stretch those resources in an inventive way. But I think that's when the magic happens. That's when you just go. I mean, we had some brilliant nights where we just, how are we going to do this? And then things wouldn't work, and then that would give you, that would suggest to you a way of doing it that you wouldn't have thought of, and then you almost go, oh my god, I'm so glad that caught fire. I mean, not caught fire, but I'm so glad that didn't work, because that gave us that thing that we didn't have before.
How did you get? Sorry, John. How did you get into all this?
I mean, I've always okay. Like when, especially you, because you're a footballer. If I recall right,
I wouldn't go that far. I liked playing football. I was giving it a go once upon a time. Yeah.
I never did that. I was never into football. I was never good. When all the kids were doing football as kids, as kids were playing football, I was never into it. I don't know whether that's my upbringing or whatever. But I was that kid, Stand By Me, like Gordy LaChance, making stories. I'd write stories. I would just sit in my room writing stories. And then I remember at the end, when we were like in junior school, before senior school, school, I'd do stand up at the end of the school day. I can't believe the teacher used to let me do this, and I just make up a story, just like he used to, And I go, okay, here's the story, and it'd be like something I'd make up on the spot, and then someone would do, and I'd have the other kids as characters. So I always wrote stuff. I was writing. And I remember we went away to camp at the, with the school,
Oh, wow.
there'd be an Easter break, or I think it was like summer half term. I do stand up, which is mental when I think about it now. I just stand up in front of everybody and tell jokes. So that's always that kind of performer thing, writer performer thing has always kind of been in me. So that kind of dovetailed. I suppose I was 8 when Star Wars came out, and that was just the biggest mind-blowing thing. Star Wars. I remember I saw it at the Odeon in Brighton, our local cinema, our local Odeon. And that was mind-blowing to me, that these things were made by people, because it was all about George Lucas and all of that. And I remember, films were made by people. People made films. That's what some people did, And I remember realizing, they don't just appear. And I remember being just absolutely fascinated by this. And that whole performing thing kind of dovetailed into acting as well. So I did acting for a while. And I was kind of like, I didn't know whether to do acting or filmmaking. So I did kind of do both. So I was kind of like doing both. And I think I spent I went to drama school, studied acting. And then I did about 5 years of acting. And I thought, I kind of kept coming back to the filmmaking. And I just thought, you know what, you should always follow what you really want to do. That should be your, the thing that keeps you up, keeps you going at 3 a.m. The thing you really want to do is that. So I did a film course at Panico Studios with Panico Studios. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was run by the Monty Python team, which was, it was Terry Jones, Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam, and Michael Palin, and they ran it out of a studio just off Tottenham Court Road.
Mm.
And and it was actually run by Bob and Julian Doyle, who worked on all of the Life of Brian, Meaning of Life, Holy Grail. It was all that team, and they basically take you through how films were made. So we did a course where you just basically went around all of the disciplines. There's no, everyone was like, I want to be a director. They're like, shut up, you're going to learn how to do that. You can learn how to do that. You can learn how to, and it was such a great discipline, because then at the end of the course, everybody you got yourselves in producer, writer teams, and you did a film about a harmonica. Everybody had to have a harmonica in it, and it was shot on 16mm, and everybody in the course, it was over like 2 days. It's like a 2-minute short, but everybody in the course did like a different discipline. So if you were directing, that was your one, and everybody else would do the different disciplines within, and then you'd shift one to the right. So you'd be a focus puller, a boom op, a clapper loader, which is the most terrifying job on a film set when you're shooting film, which is an entry-level job, I can't believe. Loading the film into the magazine in a little thing to stop it getting exposed, and making sure you do it right, otherwise everything's, lost. Mm-hmm. But so you went round the various disciplines, and then you got to direct your thing. Ours was a horror, obviously, about a man being haunted by a harmonica, of course. So that's how I did that, and then I kind of I did I got shorts, did a few shorts, and then basically tried to get features made one after the other, and I think that's the same with all filmmakers, with all independent filmmakers. There's a lot of nearly getting there, a lot of nearly getting films made. I got so close with a couple of films in the 2005, 6. I had one I was trying to put together. I had Richard E. Grant, Alan Bates, and Stephen McIntosh attached, and we were, here we go, and we were like, the funding was happening, and then it fell through, and then you got to pick yourself up again. And I got another film put together with Mark Benton. Actually, weirdly enough, he was attached to a project I was doing way back, I think 2007, 2008, just trying to get these various projects put together. And then we can talk about promo. Because this is where we met, doing promo.
This is where we met.
Where we met doing promo, which is all independent artists.
But just to explain to the people listening who might not be familiar with what promo is, because it's sort of its own little world. Like, everybody will have experienced it, but they might not know what it's called. So, when you're walking through a shopping centre or an amusement park or wherever, when you see brands that have set up like freebie giveaways or free experiences.
Complimentary giveaways.
Complimentary, sorry. Yeah, I'm so far. I'm rusty. I'm rusty
Yeah,
in the
I've been
game,
10 years.
thankfully. Yeah, me and John, we met. I reckon we met doing a big project for Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, way back
What?
when. I reckon it was 2009.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah, I
about
think
right.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, me and John stood in many strange spaces trying to get people to come and play on
Come and
Xbox's new
try the Xbox.
technological contraption, which was incredible. To this day, I do not know how that device didn't work, but
Yeah.
that's a conversation for another time.
Xbox Connect.
Yeah, Connect. It went for about 4 or 5 years, and then it sort of
It
discontinued
just
it.
stopped.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
remember, like, oh, look, I think,
It was like
I think,
people again. They won't know what we're talking about. So it was basically this camera that you put on top of your TV. It had a few cameras in it, and
yeah,
it basically let you control games like Minority Report. So it scanned your whole body in. You didn't need to hold a controller or anything. I'm hoping that Xbox are watching this and I'm getting some kickback or something. But
yeah.
you,
Get one.
yeah, you could just control what was on the screen with your body
Oh,
without any
yeah,
sensors
like
or
that.
anything. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But your full body, right? It'd track your
Oh, yeah, no,
legs, your
yeah, but
arms.
you said it was a dance. Remember, we did one that was a dance. Do you remember the dance one? We had the dance. What was that?
I still hear the songs from that dance game that we had to demonstrate and
Poker face.
almost just jump into dance. I
Poker
think I
face.
still know the routines. Poker face, yeah.
Yeah, oh, because it was the first one. Poker face. Poker face. I remember dun, 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 dun. Like, oh, here we go.
So yeah,
Yeah.
John and I met promoting Xbox, and yeah, everybody or a lot of people in the promo world are sort of aspiring
Mm,
actors, musicians, singers,
yeah,
models. Um, it's a fascinating environment to work in.
yeah. Because you can literally do a day. You literally do days
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you go along, you say, I can do that day, that day, that day. And then you just literally, because there's a team, they're run by agencies.
Yeah, it's flexible freelance work,
Yeah,
isn't it? It
especially when I
makes
work.
it
So
ideal for people who need flexibility.
flexibility, and but what you find is throughout the summer, you never have a weekend. So you miss everyone's barbecues, because you're just basically working all the time. So I missed barbecues and things for about 10 years. Because you do like wouldn't you? You get on a campaign and you work really, you think, right, if I do this campaign, that's going to give me the time and space to go and do my
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
acting, filmmaking, whatever it is you do. So you just literally would never turn down work. If you were free, you'd work, and you maybe work sort of 2 or 3 jobs. But this is how my first film 4 got produced. My friend Clive Standen, who you might know, Rolo from Vikings.
I know of Vikings, but I've not
Yeah,
seen
he's
them.
also he's done loads. He's massive. I was mates with him just before. Woo! Just went bye. Off he went to Hollywood to be massively famous. I put him in one of my shorts,
All
so
right.
he's on his IMDb. His first credit is my short, which is brilliant. I love this. So he was just come out of drama school and he was doing promo. So we kind of stayed in contact and everything. And then he was getting married, and I went along to his wedding, and I got sat next to Nina Wadia and her husband Raymond Mirza. Nina Wadia was in EastEnders at the time, and I, talking and everything. It was lovely. They were a really nice table. It was a fantastic table. Everyone laughing and joking. And I said to them, I'm an independent filmmaker trying to get my first film made. And they went, we're independent producers trying to make our first film. And I just went, what? Where's the camera? It was just like, and they went, let's make it. And I went, what? They went, yeah, let's make this film that you're trying to get made. And it was written by a mate of mine, Paul Cronell, 4, which he'd written the script. I thought, it's a brilliant self-contained film. And we bumped around the idea for a bit, did a couple of rewrites. We all, like myself, Raymond, and Paul, all put input into it. And then I kept, what, really? I mean, yeah. And I just thought, oh, Christ. It was like literally pushing at a door, and then all of a sudden someone opens it and you go, and fall through. And I mean, we were shooting at night in winter again, as always, because it was completely set at night. And we found this fantastic location, but we couldn't, what we call day for night, where you black out the windows. This was too big to black out the windows, and you needed lots of night. So we shot for 21 days in February, and it was sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah, I've
I mean, I
just
was in
recently watched it. You could see everyone's
the
breath,
breath.
and I'm assuming that wasn't wasn't CGI.
No, that was
No, it
because I'm
just
in
looked
this massive North
Baltic.
Face. I'm in this massive North Face with like a puffer underneath and all this stuff, covered. And we had these enormous, great big, like industrial heaters. They look like jet engines.
Mhm.
And whenever I said cut, they go fire them up, and we just chuck all these coats and duvets over the actors. Particularly Martin Compson, who was tied to a chair for most of the film, sitting there like this, freezing cold. I just really felt for him. But we got so lucky with the cast for that, and and the crew and everything. It just sort of fell into place, and eternally grateful to Nina and Raymond for just taking a punt really and just going, there we are, have a go. And it was a surreal stepping onto set for the first time as a feature director, and just like, and everybody, like a full crew, turns to you and go, what do you want to do? And you're like, oh, well, okay, put the camera there. It's
So
really that.
that'll have been around the time I met you.
We met because I did that, and then I think during the editing, I think again you're like, and that's over, back to the real one. Between editing and it coming out, I think we did lots of work. I think we did. We did the pop up in Dean Street, didn't we?
Yeah,
We did the
that's
pop
right.
up in Dean Street
Yeah, in
while I was
Soho, we were there for a while.
for the Soho, and the film was being sold just up the road. I remember that. Yeah.
Surreal stuff, that.
Yeah, I know. It was.
Well, I know. Like back when I was doing the promo with all you guys, like that was, I'd only really been in it for maybe a few months when we met, and everybody kept saying to me, "I'm an actor. I'm a this. I'm a that," and I wasn't part of that world at all.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, "Are you?" everybody, because I didn't recognize anybody. Everybody was talking about these things that I'd never heard of. And then it was funny, sort of, in the years after we started working together, to start to see people in things, which was really, really nice. But yeah, my idiot brain couldn't comprehend at the time. I was like, no, you're not really, are you? No. Yeah.
I mean, that's jobbing actors, really.
Yeah.
That's and filmmaker, unfortunately, I don't have to do it anymore. But just you just do anything really to get it going. Just do anything to pay the bills and stay in that world, really, doing what you're doing and pushing forward every kind of baby step forward, making towards your goal, and that's it. That's what's called paying your dues.
So everything that you've done, like going back to when you were writing, even growing up, have you always gravitated towards sort of dark stories?
Yeah. I don't know. I've got a lot of thought. A lot of thought to that. It's like either comedy or horror. It's just, which is kind of like, they're kind of like, I think, the polar opposite of each other. Comedy and horror, because horror, you can't fake a horror. It's either scary or not scary. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is that scary? Are you scared by that? Yes or no? And do you find that funny? Yes or no? Whereas, subtleties of drama and, things like, films that work on a more cerebral level, they, you can either get it or not get it. But, they're very kind of real and visceral. And I think that's why I kind of like the desire to shock. To shock and like, and ta-da! And to have an effect, really. Going back to when I was a teenager. I was a teenager, really, in the sort of the explosion of independent video stores.
Uh-huh.
Before Blockbusters, every town had a little, they had like, it was like it might have been a newsagent or something, and then all of a sudden, video store. And they're all kind of independent. Ours was called Video Box in Haywards Heath, where I was growing when I lived up. And they eight, it was X. It was X, or it was before 80. It was X's and A's and double A's, I think, or 80. But anyway, they didn't give a monkeys. You just go like that, boff. I want to watch Driller Killer, and they go, there we are, Sonny. Off you go. And but like before I was like 14, I'd seen all the classics. I'd seen like The Thing, like all the John Carpenters, all the Friday the 13th, Last House on the Left. If you've seen that original Wes Craven Last House on the Left, that is a doozy. Like Apocalypse Now, Deer Hunter, Alien, all those films, and they really kind of like that was like a film school to me, because I could just see how, because you could watch it and rewatch it, and like you'd really go, how's they done that? How's they chopped that guy's head off? How's that done? I mean, that's one, The Exterminator with Robert Ginty. That was another one where someone gets their head chopped off with a machete at the beginning, and I'm like, how did they do that? And you could rewind it and you get it and you go, it's like the fascination with, it's not like, it's more of the fascination of technique and than like, I like seeing kill. It's like, it was really like, and kind of that, pacing and like you get to notice the tropes and the themes and how things work. And that kind of that always really interested me, as almost like independent film at this level is like a magic trick. It's misdirection and certain, especially before CGI, which you could just go, it's CGI, which always kind of puts a layer between you and the horror, because it's not real, it's not, it's too fantastical. But like The Thing, I remember when we watched The Thing, that was a real, I don't know if this is John Carpenter's best film, I think, which was universally derided when it came out, but it's stunning. I mean, I watched it with my mate Patrick, and he had an Alsatian dog, which looks a bit like a husky. So I think on our video, if we watched it on the day that you hired it, you could take it back and get another one for free. So we watched it in the afternoon, and then he went back to drop it off, and I was so scared. I shut his Alsatian dog in the toilet, in the bathroom, because he was looking at me like that. I'm thinking, you're going to transform in a minute. Get out of it. Spoiler alert. I remember when I was in Cannes in 2019, I bumped into, but saw walking towards me John Carpenter, and we just were like, all of us were like, oh my god, and like real fanboys. And I told him that story, and he was really chuffed. Obviously, he's on his way somewhere, but I really quickly told him that story. I said, that film had a physical effect on me in the real world, in as much as I was this dog sitting there looking at me. I just thought, no, I can't look at you in the bathroom. You go until he gets back. But yeah, it's and that's why horror just it's like horror or comedy. It has that effect. It's a visceral effect, and something also primeval, I suppose. Sharing scary stories in the dark. This is the equivalent of all sitting around a campfire, telling us, telling stories, and that's kind of, I don't know, why is that? That's a really good question, actually. Why is it that we enjoy scary stories, especially when we should hate them? Which is around a campfire. You're out in the wilds. Anything can happen. I know. Let's tell a scary story. So I suppose it's like your brain saying, what's the worst thing that can happen right now? You know what I mean? When your brain goes, your brain says, don't walk towards that, don't walk towards that dangerous body of water, because, and then your mind goes, imagine that. Imagine you falling in and drowning, or falling off that building, or, that kind of thing. And I think that...
So where does the compulsion come from then? Do you have any idea? Because obviously, you've spent your career making things to scare people and making things to thrill people. So it's really interesting.
I think that's what it is. I think it might be a safety mechanism from when we were, that a bear could eat us. It's a scary story about a monster. When we didn't really understand, when people didn't really understand the world. I think that's why horror particularly horror, it comes from has to come from a place of wonder. It has to come from a place of not knowing. It's not knowing what's there, not knowing what in your imagination fills in the blanks. And I think that's the attraction. I think that's the attraction for horror. Is
to prepare us,
or bring us back to what our core nature, I suppose. I think this is very true. I talked to friends of mine about why are zombie films and zombie apocalypse films and series, why are they so popular? And I think it's because, and also films, they share in common things like alien invasion movies and things like that, and things like Mad Max and things like that. Anything whereby the safety net of society has been removed, and you're, in your own, the characters are left to their own devices. They survive and fail on their own abilities and luck a little bit, and being self-reliant. And I think that might be a natural thing that we have as human beings, that we crave that. That's why people like going camping. I mean, I enjoy kayaking. I enjoy sea kayaking, and I enjoy exploring. Me and my friend Simon Olivier, who's also a local film director, we love going kayaking. And you just go up and down the river. We just literally go exploring. We just take a lunch and just go, and then ford, get over rapids, and go down, and such rapids as there are in Sussex, but over obstacles, and porting the kayaks out and then back in the river. And I think that kind of leans towards the same thing, which is the desire to pit yourself against nature, and everything's safe. This is a chance to enjoy being scared. And I think that's an enjoyment. Risk, I don't know, risk. People who enjoy bungee jumping and base jumping and things like that. It's the same thing. It's putting yourself in a position of risk, which makes you feel alive, I guess. Makes you feel alive, and kind of reattaches you to that primeval instinct, which you would have, in when we lived in caves and were chased by bears, and that, I suppose that also, you get that endorphin rush afterwards, don't you? You have that adrenaline, and then you have that endorphin rush, and they say about the rush, but that horror films do that as well. And it's also that shared experience, the shared experience of being, in strangers in the dark watching a horror film, and here comes the scare.
Yeah, which is unfortunately a little harder to come by now, isn't it? Cinema seems to be shrinking. I hope it doesn't. I mean, it's not going to vanish in our lifetime.
It's not going to vanish. I think with every technology, when television started, and in the 50s and 60s, everybody was cinema, like, oh god, and Hollywood responded by doing things like CinemaScope and they made them bigger, which is exactly the way to go. Which is okay, you might have a big screen at home, but it's nothing compared to this, and also nothing compared to the sound system that you have in the cinema. Which is, that for me is very underplayed. The whole, it's the sound. It's not only is it a big screen, it's also the full cinema experience, and also, sharing that experience with strangers. There's nothing like it, really. So I think with streaming, it's like television and like video and all those things before it. They kind of they get kind of, there's a threat to cinema, and a threat, with television, video, and DVD, and now streaming. But there is always space for the cinema experience, and I think that will always come back. It'll always be. It's like theatre, just because we have cinema, TV, and everything. There is still space for live theatre, because it's because it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, I think because cinema is closer to streaming and TV and stuff like that, it it's more at risk. Do you know what? Like I said, it's never going to be fully replaced.
Mm.
But yeah, like if you go, oh, let's go to the theater versus the cinema, people will go, well, they're two completely different things. Whereas if people go, I'll watch this film on a big screen or I'll watch it at home,
Yeah,
that seems like more of the same thing to people. But yeah, anyway, it's not
yeah,
going.
it's not going. I don't. Yeah, but I think audience. Like the streaming bubble, it's a streaming bubble, isn't it? Because you see lots of there's now every distributor has their own streaming service, and
Yeah.
it can't survive as it is. I mean, it can't. There will be a time when, like VHS and Betamax. When that kind of happened, it was like one. Obviously that's a different thing. That's a medium, but it's like all the different ways of seeing product content. I hate that phrase.
Content.
Content. Or seeing films. To say seeing films. All the different ways of seeing them. It ends up like a saturated market, and people just in the end they crave that. In the end, they will crave that. They crave the simplicity of that. And so, not simplicity, something different. I mean,
sorry, I'm so glad to hear someone balk at the word content. I know that that's got nothing to do with this episode at all, but thank you very much. What is it? It's a film, it's an episode, it's a comedy, even if you're making a 5-second TikTok, like what is it? It's not just, I understand that you can bracket it as content, but what actually is it? Is it an interview? Is it,
yeah.
Anyway, mini rant over.
Content. I hate that. Well, all filmmakers hate the word content. It's like it's like calling your pets meat. It's true they are meat, but you need them. But I think that's
so that's why we like sort of dark, scary things.
Yeah, I think so.
Communal experience, and because it makes us sort of feel alive. We get a bit of adrenaline, and we get a bit of an endorphin afterwards. It's surviving this sort of
surviving this thing, surviving it, and I think we have we have empathy. You have empathy. It ties into the whole empathy thing. It ties into the whole empathy of you with what's going on the screen. It's like you're with them. You're with the characters. Oh yeah, what would I do in that? Thinking of the thing. You're trapped in the environment with them, and that's why the thing about horror is you have to start with, you have to trap characters. You have to make it that they can't just go bye and leave. All good horrors trap. Antarctica for the thing. Friday the 13th. It's a remote summer camp. Or the safety of society has been removed. In the wider world, like The Walking Dead. The whole world. You're never safe. You're scared. You're constantly under threat. And that's it.
So they're the story mechanisms that make a horror, but in terms of horror and thriller, because you've done both, obviously I speak to authors mostly, so it's nice to speak to somebody in a different medium. What are the main techniques that you use to like scare and thrill people as a filmmaker rather than a writer?
I think it's it comes down. I mean, it comes down to like technical stuff like choice of lenses. I mean, that's really interesting. The choice of lenses is really really works for horror, because if you have a long lens, like say for example a 50 to 85, it narrows the field of view around it. And if you've ever noticed in a horror film, the tighter you get to the character's face, the scarier it becomes, because almost as if you're not seeing what's beyond the frame, then when they turn around, it's going to get them.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of like, do you know what I mean? If it's a wide,
I know.
Wide, like a, 35, 20, 35, 14 or 24 millimeter, you're seeing, that's the, you're seeing, you can see around them, and you can see no one's creeping up behind them. But the tighter you get, and the closer you get, something could be behind them and you wouldn't see it till you turn. And everybody knows that with film as a technique, is that you're not showing me that thing's there, and I know that when they turn around it's going to be there because I've heard it, and the audience and the character hasn't heard it. Because that's the thing. The thing with horror, there's two ways. There's two different ways, and this is the same with all film. Okay, you can either know more than the character does. The character can know more than you do, or you can be at the same time discovering at the same time as the character. Like, for example, like say you've seen the killer walk in, and the killer is hiding in there. You've seen them, and let's say for example in Friday the 13th, where one of the characters goes to the bathroom and then the other character is killed. Kevin Bacon in this case. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it by now. So then then the character is in the bathroom and she hears a noise, but and she thinks it's Kevin Bacon's character, but he's dead. So do you know what I mean? So you're ahead of the character in that regard. So there's a delight in knowing that the thing out there is the killer. It's not the person.
Yeah, I forget the distinction. I know there's a famous sort of Hitchcock quote about, I think, the suspense the whole where you know something, but the characters don't, and you're waiting for them to find out.
Yeah, it's the bomb under the table, where two characters have a conversation, all of a sudden it blows up, and then you are at the same time as you are witnessing the character at the same time as they realise it, that they're being blown up. And so
I guess that's more horror, isn't it? That's surprise horror.
That's shock. The shock of that. But suspense is you see they're talking, and then you see a cutaway of the bomb under the table, and then so you're aware of what's happening before the characters are. So that's suspense, and you wonder. So that's two possible outcomes. Two or three possible outcomes. The bomb blows up and kills them, or one of them notices the bomb and notices, and then you have all the tension of diffusing the bomb or getting away, or and they're going to get away in time, it's not a bomb. You thought it was a bomb, or the bomb blows up somewhere else. There's that lovely misdirection of where you think the bomb is under their table, and then it turns out to be under the table of someone else. Down the street, an explosion in the down the street, and oh my god, it wasn't them, it was someone else. So those all technique, and I suppose keeping the audience with you is to know is to know where to do that. Is to have, like with a horror film, you have to keep the audience slightly ahead of you. Okay, the audience has to be slightly ahead of the characters up to a certain point, and then they have to experience at the same time as the characters. Because up to a certain point, if they're at the same speed, if the characters are at the same speed as them, and something horrible happens, and the characters are aware of it at the same time as the audience is aware of it, then the characters will just leave. You see what I mean? If they're in a position where they can leave, they would leave. That's in like the film we've just done. We had to do things where we had to show scariness that the characters weren't aware of, but the audience were. They thought, this is all everything's fine, and where's such and such gone? Oh well, they've probably just gone somewhere, or I haven't seen them all day. Where have they been? Kind of thing. But as the audience, we knew we know that they've been killed. We've seen their horrific deaths. So, and we didn't, and tying that through, and that's kind of the same with all horrors, up to a point at which point it's almost as building a trap, building a spider's web, around the characters until in the end they're trapped. Before they know it, they're trapped, and then they can't get out. And then there's that whole, and then you will be the audience experience the same thing as at the same time as the characters. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I know.
It's like setting up of the characters, setting up of the it's not as formulaic as this, but set up the characters, set up the threat before the characters know about the threat, and then pull the rug from under them, and then all of a sudden it's that they are scared. They're experiencing the horror at the same time as the audience, and those are kind of techniques really. I think that's true with most writing, isn't it? It's but it's keeping taking people to taking the audience, taking the characters to a place where they are beyond the reach of help, and then they have to rely on their own wits to survive.
So as a horror and thriller aficionado, do your own tastes when you're watching or reading or whatever else, do they purely lie in those genres, or do you like
Oh
lighter
no!
stuff as well? I don't know.
I think
Some people are maniacs for it. Some people like it's all they'll read, it's all they'll watch. So
no,
yeah.
I mean I got really kind of eclectic taste. I really like, and I'm really jealous of filmmakers like Wes Anderson and his quirky little comedies. I just couldn't do it. I had no idea where he starts. But I love, like Darjeeling Limited is my favourite of his, The Three Brothers and the Train, and also, I think, wow, and the Grand Budapest Hotel and the world building that goes into that. I just love it, and I love all of his. I love the way the dialogue flows, and everything like that. That's a particular favourite, and also dramas. I don't know how to do a drama. I wouldn't know where to start. But like people who find, I'm thinking about filmmakers like when I was growing up, it was Ken Loach and Mike Leigh. The drama in the smallest, tiniest spaces.
Ken Loach just had a film come out. Is it The Old Oak? Is that Ken Loach? Am I thinking of the right person?
So.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I'm mesmerized and a little bit jealous that people who could just turn, here's a film about this, here's a film about the smallest thing. So I do like dramas and comedies. I love a good comedy. But yeah, I do really like. Okay, I have a pathological fear of heights. Okay, weirdly enough, a pathological fear of heights and really confined spaces.
Okay.
So everything in between. So two really good horror films. Fall. Have you seen Fall? The two girls up the tower.
I've seen a clip of it. I think I saw a clip of it on Gogglebox or something like that. Right.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I do. Yeah, as a filmmaker, you watch films and you go, "Oh, I wish I'd thought of that." Do you know what I mean? You sometimes see a film that's so uniquely simple in its, brilliance in its like setup and execution. You're like, "Oh, I wish I'd thought of that."
So I want to try and guess your second one, because you said height and enclosed spaces. I'm gonna go for Buried, featuring Ryan Reynolds. Is that what you were going for, or is that just another example?
Yeah, Buried.
Is it really?
Oh my God. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. If you haven't seen that at home, people, go and watch it. It's not a particularly well-known film, and I do not know how. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's about 10, 12 years old, something like that. It is an absolutely incredible film. Basically, this guy wakes up and he's buried alive. Yeah. And there is not much more frightening that I have ever seen.
Yeah. It's just him in a box making phone calls. Yeah, he's a contractor in Iraq, isn't he? He just wakes up. Wakes up in a box.
Yeah, I watched it a few months ago. It's a great film.
I saw the making of was brilliantly done, because it was made in Spain, Spanish director, and they gave themselves the challenge to have no two shots the same, because it was in a box. Because it was in a box, they thought, look, if we just we could just go. And that would just, we can't do that. We can't, because we have this one location, we can't just shoot it with simple shots. And there's one bit where the camera goes all the way around. And what they did is they had the camera
like 11 different coffin setups or something.
Yeah, there's all these different ways. There was one where there was just like the top was suspended. And they put the camera goes round at 360. And as it goes round, obviously, as it comes round the counter rotating side, they put the side back up. So you see they're filming through that side onto that side, and then when they come around the other side, as they come around the sides, they're putting the sides back up.
See, I
And
think
that
that
goes back
people.
to, yeah,
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think people listening to this, like, unless you've really paid thought to these things, you don't understand how important these sort of technical things are to actually keeping you engaged in the story. Because what will happen is, if you're seeing the same shot over and over again, you will lose engagement.
yeah,
So your favourite films are constantly employing little techniques to
yeah.
pull you back to the screen.
Nothing on film is by accident, unless it's crew or equipment visible, which is like, oh no, nothing in the frame is there by accident. Even down to things like you'll be framing up a shot and you'll go, oh god, there's a light in the background that's really, there's a light or a bit of metal or something that's just hitting the drawing our eye. We can't keep. So there's a fantastic thing called cinefoil, which if you're an independent filmmaker, you know all about. Okay, it's like tinfoil, but it's matte black, and it comes in sheets. And what you just crumple it over things. You literally can just put it over a light, and it just cuts it dead. It's like it's matte black. So there's quite a lot of bits of like when we shot Charlie Shaw's Revenge. Then there's quite a lot of like, and where's that bit of cinefoil? And you like come in and there's a bit of cinefoil over all the lights and bits, and it was a working theme park. Yeah, you just anything that was catching the light, you just flag it. You just put a flag on it. You just darken it. Because people think about independent filmmaking. People think that it's all about the camera. See this. Okay, this is. I'm going to segue into another thing, if that's all right. I'm going to segue into technique. Okay. People think that filmmaking is all about the camera. You hear people about the sensor and the camera. It's not. It's not about, as you understand filmmaking and how it works, you realize it's not about the camera. And then you kind of move into, it's all about the lenses. It's all about the lenses. It's about the glass. It's got to be this. It's got to be a Cook lens, it's got to be this lens, that lens, depth of field of this, that, and the other. And then you think, no, it's not that. It's about the lighting. It's about how the lights are employed. And, there's lights here. I mean, it's all of these things. All of these things. But, you go, well, this is more important. And then you get into lighting and then how that works. And then you realize it's not about any of those things. It's about a bit of cardboard. It's about a bit of cinefoil. It's about how you manipulate light, how you cut light, how you shape light, the intensity of the light, and all those things are modifiers. Are things like softboxes, diffusion, gels, smoke, mist. All those things are what make a film look cinematic, more than the other things put together. Because people say, I shoot the shot. You can shoot a film on the most expensive lenses with the most expensive lights. I mean, this is obviously, discounting sound, which I will get to.
Yeah, we're just talking
about the picture. People, it's not about how expensive your lenses are. It's not about how expensive your camera is. It's not about how big your lights are. Expensive. It's about how you shape light, and that can be a bit of cardboard. That can be like what's called a cookie, which is shapes cut into a piece of black, either cardboard or polyboard. We use black polyboard, sheet of polyboard, about a one size piece of polyboard, with shapes cut in it, which you shine a light through, and it makes interesting shadows and patterns. And then you combine that with diffusion and smoke, and all of a sudden you have something that looks cinematic. And that filmmaking should come from that to start with, and then you should worry about the lens. People get really hung up on what camera they use and what lights they use and what camera and lenses they use, when in reality, you can shoot a really cinematic looking film on your phone if you light it correctly.
People have, right?
Yeah, people have.
I watched I think it was a Steven Soderbergh film a few years ago called High Flying Bird, and that was all filmed on iPhones. It's a film
Yeah,
about basketball.
yeah.
And yeah,
Because and
like
that's it. It's not to do again. It's not to do with I've shot this on my iPhone and I just pointed an iPhone at something. It's how you shape the light, shadow, and contrast within that frame, and that's down to modifiers. Not even lights, modifiers. Things that go in front of the light, because you can modify any light. You can put like everyone's favorite and one of my favorite DOPs, Roger Deakins, uses domestic lights. He puts them in a ring and it puts them in a light ring. Makes his own light rings, which is just bulbs in a wooden ring wired in. And that's just to say, oh, I need this film light or that film light. You don't. You can use any light, and you use what's called practicals, which is a light in the frame, and you cut that down. You can cut that down with stick a bit of diffusion over it, and then there you are. You made it softer, made it brighter, and that's how most independent filmmakers and indeed people like, as I said, like Roger Deakins, make films just with any light.
So from light to darkness, getting into the sort of back end of the episode. I know you might be aware that we play this game.
Oh yeah.
So
this is random. Go on. I
well,
know.
like we can get into some pretty dark, heavy stuff doing this, depending on the sort of direction of the episode. But for this game, I'm going to need from you 3 of your favourite evil characters.
3 of my favourite evil characters. Oh, okay. Okay. Recent. Okay, these are quite recent. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Matt, have you seen Hannibal?
Which one?
Series.
The film of the series? Yeah. Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal Lecter. I just adore that. The whole show is a delight. He's a delight. The whole show is not what my wife would call a delight, but everything about it is a sensual delight.
Yeah, it's sort of filmed. So for anybody who hasn't seen it, Hannibal Lecter, I actually spoke about this with a guest on the last episode as well. But not this element of it. So it's Hannibal Lecter. It's a sort of prequel series, and it is filmed a bit like an M&S advert. So it's like, this is not just cannibalism. This is M&S cannibalism, and everything. Like you're literally watching Hannibal Lecter cook these dishes from human remains, and you're looking at them. You're going, "I'm starving." Like I would eat that right now.
Is it random that I get to the end of it going, "Oh, I could eat that. I could eat that."
But yeah, it's very playful the way that they do it all. But yeah, there's a very, very dark sense of humour about that show.
I'm glad it's not just me that goes.
No, not at all.
And then when he made sausages out of human lungs, and you saw him prepping it, and then he gave it to the other character. When he had what's he said? He goes, protein breakfast, and like his egg and sausage in it, and he's watching him eat it like that. He's because obviously he likes to watch. I don't know if you know, Hannibal Lecter. He likes to feed. He likes to engage people. Make them eat it too without their knowledge. And I'm thinking, God, I would still eat that. That looks really nice.
Yeah. It's like MasterChef level, Michelin star level cannibalism.
Cannibalism. No, that's And I always loved that. Yeah, you're kind of like, well, would he eat me? Or could you just have would you go to dinner with him, and would he eat you at the end of it? Would he find you fascinating enough not to kill? And I think that again, that's that. It's like traditional depiction of the devil, that pure evil, that pure seductive evil, and you can see yourself going, yeah, and then you go, hang on, well, you're a monster, and I love the whole. I think Hugh Dancy as well he's a brilliant Will Graham, their relationship is. It's like the way Hannibal Lecter cares for Will Graham and like allows him license that he wouldn't give anyone else.
No, it's an incredible show. So
Yeah.
we've got Mads
Mads
Mikkelsen's Hannibal
Mikkelsen's Hannibal
Lecter.
Lecter.
Yeah,
Homelander from The
yeah.
Boys.
From The Boys.
Homelander.
Amazing.
Yeah. I just
So
find myself. Yeah,
for
he's
anybody who isn't aware, so Homelander, there's this TV show called The Boys on Amazon Prime. Homelander is like Superman gone very wrong.
yeah. He's very he's an evil he's an evil Superman basically in a nutshell. Yeah. He's actually based on Donald Trump. There's loads of
So he said that, yeah.
they've actually said he's based on Donald Trump. He's
Oh
like
wow.
literally somebody with the absolute complete power, but he's really childlike, and he tantrums. Only he has the power, all of Superman's powers, so he can like laser people with his eyes, and he's massively ridiculously strong, and he can fly. So yeah, he's like, yeah, but he's so okay. I don't remember the Daleks in Doctor Who. Obviously, when you're a kid, right? I'd always be really terrified when they'd come on, because you think they're going to kill someone any minute now. They have that sense of immediate lethal danger.
Mm-hmm.
They'd suddenly get moody about something. Go, exterminate, and then the same. The Homelander's the same. When he's on set, when he's on screen.
Screen, yeah.
When he's on screen, he has and could and probably will kill someone horrifically right in front of you. Because he has that, I'm the Homelander, I can do what the fuck I want. That's that famous, I can do what the fuck I want. And he knows it, and he has he has no filter, and he literally, that delight in being on the edge, that delight of being on the edge when anything can happen. It's that kind of genuine evil.
It's Gillian watching somebody so sadistic when it's not real. When it's not real. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be horrified because there's obviously characters who are witnessing that. And just the sheer horror on their face, and the fact that they know, if you work there, you'd just be like, you'd just stay away from him. You just wouldn't be in the same room as him. You'd just be like constantly, totally. Why would you would rob a bank? You wouldn't be. You do anything. You wouldn't do anything to attract his attention. He's that powerful and that unhinged, and that's why I think, that the stronger the baddie. I think this is the same. The stronger the baddie, the better the goodie has to be.
Yeah.
And that's why we love baddie, because what's his insurmountable. It's like Darth Vader, and that kind of thing. The badder he is, the worse, the better the goodie has to be, and the more he has to fight.
Yeah.
Third one would be season 6 and 7, Negan from The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Not season when he started with it, because this goes back to the whole thing of like, I like bad, but baddies should be bad. They should be evil, insurmountably evil. When it's all right to have them, like, to have to be rounded characters. I mean, moustache twirling villain, but they should be bad. They should be evil. And I remember season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead. A time will come when they won't be. A time will come when you won't be, which hails back to the last episode of the first season, when the doctor in the CDC is going to blow them all up, and then he lets them out. Massive spoiler. If you haven't seen it by now, sorry, tough. And he lets them out, and he says thank, and Rick turns to him and says we're thankful to you. And he turns to him and says, a time will come when you won't be, which is when you won't be thankful that I let you live, I let you leave. And this kind of harks back to that, because it's the most brutal episode when we're introduced to Negan and the way he justifies everything he does, and he just takes it. I mean, obviously people have the whole Negan thing where they pick on someone to kill with a baseball bat, Lucille, the baseball bat, and how that works as a shock factor. When you when you meet a group of people and you kill one of them in front of everybody brutally, and you say, "Look, this is for starters. This is this is to make sure you know who is boss. You know that the Savior's a boss." That kind of power, and again, it's kind of harking back to the Homelander thing, that you immediately set a sort of a white line, a laser sharp. I'm the bad guy. This is what's going to happen if you. This was me. This was me before you pissed me off. You're not going to go against me. And I remember that season. Yeah, the season seven premiere where you really get introduced to Negan. You've seen him in the periphery before, and the end of season 6. But you really get the whole how his mentality works, and you just think, how can you come back from this? This is going to be great. Again, this gives you something for Rick and the all the other, Hilltop Alexandria, gives them all, a common enemy to fight against. But yeah, the whole, if you have a really strong baddie, then it gives you, it serves the goodie, goodie baddie, you're the protagonist and antagonist. Use a proper term. It gives them something to fight against, and that's what you want to see in drama. That gives you strong drama. And that's why you need really strong bad guys. So yeah, that's Mads Mikkelsen,
Hannibal, Homelander, Negan.
And 6-7 Negan before he went all like, "Oh, I'm nice, really."
So we play. It's a derivation from Snog, Marry, Avoid. It's called Stalk, Bury, Destroy.
So what?
Basically, you're going to pick one of those characters that you would like to stalk, because you would like to sort of watch them in action up close, but not have them know that. So you'd stalk one.
Of those three?
Yeah, okay. Of those three, you would bury one, which means, they are evil, they deserve to die. You would kill them, but maybe they have some redeeming qualities where you think they deserve like a respectful funeral. And then destroy is reserved for the worst of them. You would literally obliterate them from all existence with no funeral, no trace, like vaporized. So of those three, which would you stalk?
Stalk. Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter would stalk, yeah. Because you'd want to get some recipes off it. Yeah, you want to get some recipes off Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, you would. You can't. I said that, didn't I? You want to kind of. You would want to. I mean, if you know he's evil.
Yeah. Well, you said you would want to see if you could get through a dinner with him.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
So you would be like Hannibal Lecter's Greg Wallace. Yeah.
You'd be like, you want to impress him. You go, look, I do really good scrambled eggs. What do you think? I go, need some human liver. Put it in there. Okay, Hannibal, thanks. Don't eat me. I don't know what that says about me. Okay. So which you would destroy.
Well, who would you bury? Who do you think has some redeeming qualities that sort of...
Oh, yeah, Negan. And you'd want to destroy... You want to destroy Homelander, and that's the whole premise of The Boys, isn't it? He needs to be destroyed because he is so universally powerful. You couldn't go, bury,
Yeah, he just come back like Superman at one of those Justice League films. He's dead. He's not dead. He's never dead.
Never dead. But the thing of The Boys, that The Boys will end with his death. You can't. Once he's dead, there's like, who else is there? You're not.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what they do, he always gets out because he's Superman. How'd you kill Superman? So you'd have to destroy him, I don't know, whatever his version of kryptonite is. So yeah, that's
amazing. I like that. I'd sort of I checked out of Walking Dead by the time Negan showed up. I think I made it to the beginning of season 5, maybe. But I am aware of his reputation.
Yeah.
I know of the baseball bat and stuff, but yeah, Homelander and Hannibal, I'm a big fan of your selections.
Yeah.
Just before we get back to the episode, I wanted to let you know that my new Christmas thriller novella, All I Want for Christmas Is You, is out from Friday. It's about a diva who had a massive Christmas hit decades ago. She's feeling a little bit forgotten about and short of attention. She's going to find out this Christmas Eve that somebody's paying very, very close attention to her. If you like misery and if you like all things Christmassy, I think you'll love this. It's about 140 pages long. It's a long novella, so it's a great short read, perfect for after Christmas dinner when you're sitting around desperate for something good on TV which never shows up. So if you would like one for yourself or as stocking fillers for other people, if you just pop over to Amazon, All I Want for Christmas Is You, you can pick up your copies there. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. By the end of it, I don't know if it's because it's sustainability through this is the thing of television series, isn't it? It's always the same. It can't be helped. That once you've been shocked, you run out of the shock value kind of the shock value of constant repetition of we move to a place, it seems safe, someone comes and gets us to the safety, and then we have to everything's destroyed and we have to move on. As a writer, on one of those on that, it must be massively challenging to kind of weave that in to it's almost like an ever, what's the word? It's like with sequels. It's a what's that word? Diminishing returns. It's like ever diminishing returns from the shot. If what you've just shown me was in season 1, I would have been shocked by it. But because I've seen so much between there and there, it's not. And you're like, okay, what do we have to do? In the end, you end up. It can't sustain itself beyond several, that amount of seasons. There's just not enough. There's not enough story, which is why I think spin-offs, because you can take one. You've got Negan and Maggie off to New York. You've got Daryl off to Paris, France. And you've got the Michonne and Rick coming back into it, because you have to, the characters in the end become you've taken all of these characters through all of the different storylines that you can possibly do. You have to take and move them to another setting.
Good luck to them with that. I tried to watch Fear the Walking Dead when it first started, and I watched the first season of that, and I just remember thinking, like, they've missed a massive opportunity here, because they basically start off that series where, like, the outbreak or whatever it is starting, and I thought that the entire season would be about that, the first season. It was basically done after like an episode or two, and then it was just basically another version of The Walking Dead, but with different characters. And I was like, "Oh, you've missed a really big opportunity," and I didn't bother with it beyond that.
Yeah, no, I watched it. I watched it all the way and through until recent. I love my favourite character on The Walking Dead is Morgan, Lenny James's character. So he came into Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead. So I started watching that. I like the stick. I'm not killing anyone, and then he does again. But I know what you mean. There's a I think there's also a way of doing like, if you moved between different characters and they weren't in any way connected, because after a while it gets a little bit like, what, you survived again?
Yeah.
And everybody else died. It becomes a bit like that. I suppose that's true with any horror franchise.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you survived again.
Yeah.
That
credibility and believability become stretched, don't they?
Because you'd like to see it where the imagine first 5 minutes of an Alien sequel when Ripley gets killed. You're like, what? Jesus.
But
okay.
They did pretty well with those, because the story they managed to make very different between the first few films. Like, what, they went 4 films with her, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they went 4 films. And they managed to keep believability that she was in them. It never got to the point where you're like, nah, like she'd be done by now. They managed to do that.
The third one, the MacGuffin there is. Can I do spoilers? I've been doing spoilers all over.
Well, we'll announce the spoiler before we do it,
Oh yeah.
That's
Well, if you
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
seen it by now, tough.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
True.
She's got an alien inside her, so that's why the alien won't kill her. So I suppose if that's it, that's a good way of saying, look, okay, how does she survive? You know, first one. The first one
But
is
then
yeah.
she does die,
And
doesn't she? They
she does just
actually
kill
kill
her.
her.
Then
And I
she
find
kills.
quite
Yeah,
an
yeah.
interesting way to
I was
bring
like,
her back for
what?
the fourth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
That was
very,
kind of like Resurrection's a bit of an odd one because it's a bit like a comedy. It's a bit like
yeah,
a.
yeah,
I think yeah, because the first one is truckers in space, isn't it? Which is which is basically done like a haunted house in space. Second one is aliens, which
just full
people
on
say
action film, isn't
it's
it?
an action film, it's an action horror. Which
Yeah,
obviously, I'm a big fan of James Cameron, who isn't. But I think I prefer the slow burn of Alien to Aliens. I mean, I love them both. I can interchange. I interchange between which of them is my favorite.
yeah, yeah.
It's one of my favorite films. I mean, oh, yeah, it's that one. Oh no, it's that one because Aliens was I remember seeing it at the cinema, and it was just a roller coaster ride. You were like,
Yeah,
how
that
are you
is a
going to
cinema film.
how are you going to top this? Oh, like that. How are you going to? And it's just why is James Cameron actually is a master filmmaker because the way Aliens just ramps up the tension. I mean, it's only after you watched it several times and you start going, hang on, what is that? You know what I mean? It's like the first viewing, you got to the end of it and felt like you've been on a roller coaster. Whereas Alien was a lot, like a haunted house. It's a haunted house, so you're not.
It's much more horror than action.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
it's more,
flip,
it
and
might be
then the third one goes back to more of a slow burn, doesn't it? And then
so
the fourth one sort of
sort of
like
like a
action
comedy.
comedy almost.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. But I have a couple of audience questions that I should get
Oh,
to.
brilliant.
So
Oh, excellent.
I have a resident questionnaire / troll who actually has behaved himself with this week's questions. He's asked you which directors you look up to,
Oh, there's a
or which
few.
writer directors are. Could
Oh, there's a
broaden it.
few. Well, James Cameron, obviously. Contemporary. God, Ben Wheatley.
Okay.
Ben Wheatley. Yeah. Kill List. Brilliant film.
Right.
He always has that kind of I just love all of his stuff actually. Everything he's done. I just absolutely love Ben Wheatley. What's her name? Oh, what's her name? Brain's gone completely fried. Hang on.
It's okay.
I might have to cut this and come back. You might do this one.
No. Just come back to it. If it pops into your head, I've got other questions from him anyway.
Okay, go
on. Do you have a preference for writing or directing, or do you like both equally?
Both equally. I love writing. I really love writing because I write scripts like a book, which people say, why have you put that? I like writing scripts like a story, like a book, like a storybook. So I really enjoy that solitary, like putting it all together, like in your head, and also, also putting people in horrific situations and then getting them out of it. Writing yourself into a thematic story corner, writing yourself into a story corner, and then writing yourself out. That's nothing more fun than that. And suddenly moments of like, oh my god, and you just suddenly go. Emily's like, my wife's like, what? And I go, I just realised it's that, and then I just grab a bit of paper. When that moment when you go, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how he's going to get out of that, and then you have that idea, and you go, of course, it's that. I remember when I did talking about writing. Because I like gardening as well. Gardening's a brilliant way of, or anything like gardening, hoovering, cleaning, anything like that. When you switch your brain off, is just let those thoughts come in. And I remember after I talked to Renato about we can make a film. What film do we want to make? If we've got this massive, great big location, what do we want to do with it? And I remember exactly where I was. I was sweeping leaves, and I suddenly went Friday the 13th. Do it like Friday the 13th. Not Friday the 13th. Don't copy it. But i.e. do it well. Do it before. Do it without people. Do it with. So what's the thing about this area that's scary? What is scary about any big space, any what's called a liminal space, big, like the back rooms, the famous back rooms thing, is a massive space that would have people in it, and it's empty. Like, you ever in a theatre or cinema when it's empty and you're the only person in it? How scary they are, just the space. And that's when I thought, oh God, yeah, do that. Have it empty. Have the whole place empty. There's just 5 or 6 people getting it ready for the summer. We were toying with ideas of having like big summer opening, a bit like Jaws, big summer opening. They're told don't open it. They do open it. Loads of people get killed. One, that's a logistic and budget nightmare. But also, spaces that have people in them are intrinsically scarier when those places are empty, which is why we went, do that. Have this space empty apart from a couple of people rattling around in it going, what's that over there? And who's that? And suddenly they're on their own when they were with people, and suddenly they're on their own in this massive, vast space. So I really enjoyed figuring that out and figuring out the story through that. However, directing is fun when that comes to life. And when you see, okay, you think it's going to be one way, and obviously you have, you storyboard and you shot this, because you don't turn up and go, you turn up with an idea of what you're going to do, and it's always like, or you always prepare yourself and you do a shot list and a storyboard, and then you throw it away. You learn it, memorize and destroy, because you get on set and it's raining and it's windy, and suddenly there's something over there. Why don't we use that? Why don't we bring that? And they say you should never. It's what Michael Caine says. Use the difficulty. If there's something that that you're leaning against, use it. Use something that's happened. Then the actors will come up with an idea, or they'll do it in a way that you never thought they would do it, and you're like, oh, okay, oh wow. And then you get a couple of extra shots, and then before you know, like working with Nathan, and I believe in I really love the whole collaborative process. I know some directors are like, do it like that. I'm not, because I just think part of being a director, the best thing about being a director for me is picking the team. You pick a really good team, and then you don't have to be the most. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to have a team that has all the answers. So part of the joy in that is seeing someone, and it doesn't matter who it is. It could be that. It could be. I mean, I know when we're all in a circle, going, okay, well, what do we do with this? And then someone goes, hey, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? And somebody would be like, anyone would go, why don't we? And we'll just throw a suggestion in, and you're just like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And your job, I think, as a director, is to be almost like the ring. Going back to the whole, circus theme, it's like a ring. You're the ringmaster to all this good stuff happening around you. And if you open yourself to it and you shut down your ego and you just go, okay, who's got, and sometimes you haven't. Sometimes you're like, oh, God, this is a bit mundane. What I've got is a bit mundane, and I'm not really getting this. And someone go, yeah, that. And just allowing that to come in and suggest to you. And, obviously you have these chats and things before you shoot, and you have these ideas, and just say, come on, who's got an idea? Let's, that's what your crew is there for. Your crew is there to be, not used, but is there to, but then you decide of those ideas which one you use, which one makes the cut, so to speak. But yeah, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than a team all firing on all cylinders, and you get to the end of it, and it's been a bit difficult, but you've pushed through. And yeah, we had so many days on that. And this is also the weird thing: is there's a shot of me, I know the crew that we were, my crew, our crew, would agree on this. Is that the things you thought were going to be really easy are 17 takes, and the things that you thought you were like, oh my God, I'm dreading this. And how are we going to get this shot? Particularly, as I said, I like to do a bit of sleight of hand. That's got to happen. That's got to happen. And then this is got to happen. And then off camera, that's got to come in there. And then this. And then the smoke's going to come across. And then the sound. And then the lights are going to be do this, that, and the other. And you get it in 2 takes. And you're like, oh, that was easy. And then you've got something that you thought was a really simple camera move. And you're just not nailing it. and everybody knows you've not nailed it, and you just keep going back and back and back, and everyone's getting a bit like, come on, and then you get it, and then you're just like that real sense of achievement. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like that sense of achievement when you reach the end of a day. You know you've got a full. It's what I call mining for gold. You've mined all that gold, which you're going to fashion into jewelry, which is the editing process. You get that, you get that into the DIT, the guy that does the, gets this, because now it's no longer, a can and film. It's a card. Do 2 copies and, in the backup and the proxies and sync it. And then you bring that to, to look at that in, get to look at the rushes, and you just realize you've got some really good stuff, and you see things again that you didn't see. You get it on a big screen, and you start sort of picking your way through. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like the for a rush. Something. I'm sure the actors would seeing the actors when they hit it, and they know they've hit it, and everybody knows you've hit it. And it's like that, that moment is, pretty special. That's what. So
both writing and directing, no preference.
Yeah.
So Jim's last question, and he'll always throw something like this in: which actor would you cast to murder me, and why?
To murder you?
Me specifically.
Because you're quite tall, so. Actor when I cast to murder you. It'd have to be like, I don't know. Okay, Haley Joel Osment. You know that when he was a kid child actor. You know when he was the little robot, right? That. Because you wouldn't see it coming. Because you'd be like, oh hello, you walk up and then it just, or Chucky, some little. Yeah.
And I hack me down from the lower legs.
You can't. So I'm a little, like imagine like loads of little android Haley Joel Osments coming at you. And you just so it's like a bear, like bear baiting. Like that. But loads of them.
I'll have fun dreams tonight.
That's weird, isn't it? That is weird. Because I could have said like, I don't know, big like Tom Hardy or something. But I think and they're murdering you in that area where we did, that pop-up we did in Dean Street. They're chasing you through that. In all those dark corridors. We had all those dark corridors going down into the basement. That
would have been a pretty good set. We actually worked in some pretty good setups for horror films.
No, I used to think that. Because it was like they made the corridors out of, because if you went the other side of that, it was a massive open space.
Yeah,
like a
plyboard, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a plyboard. So I was thinking, that would have been great to do horror. We had loads of people come in on that, didn't they? Like Jonathan Ross just came in and had a go.
Yeah. So a long time ago.
Long time ago.
So next for you're going to be putting this film together for release sort of back end of next year. What else is next?
Okay, I've got a couple of projects. One, because Justin Hayward, the producer, he's also an actor and a writer himself. Well, actually won loads of awards for his writing. He's written our next. So I'm only directing that, which is called First Foot, and that is a thriller, stroke horror. I don't know if you know what First Foot is. A Scottish tradition whereby the first person to cross your threshold after New Year's has to be a stranger. I know, stranger. And they have to bring with them coal and money. And there's a couple of there's coal and money and one other thing which I've forgotten for the moment. And you have to give them a drink. And they're not allowed to talk. That's the thing. They have to so it's literally like, that is a perfect thing for like home invasion horror. So somebody comes to this door of this house on New Year's Eve day, up in Scotland. And with secrets to impart, and a terrible vengeance to wreak, and a secret and all that stuff. Yeah, so with home invasion, with with the occupants of the house. So yeah, that's a sort of home invasion horror. I'm working with Kate Griffiths and Jay James on a horror film that they've kind of put this together as a story, and I'm helping them write it, put it together, called Perfect 12, which is about a hairdresser. So it's set in the subculture of rockabilly, burlesque, and tattoo artists.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's a guy. It's kind of almost like, I mean, the way to describe it, we sort of been talking about it and sort of knocking ideas back and forth. It's a bit like American Psycho. So there's a lot of breaking of the character's breaking of the fourth wall. So you're with him through his kills, and he's a hairdresser, and he cuts people's hair into the perfect haircut, and then kills and scalps them because he wants to have the perfect 12 haircuts.
All right, so a little bit like Perfume, a little bit.
Oh yeah, Perfume.
Amazing film, by the way.
Yeah, like that.
Incredible
Exactly.
film.
That's a really good. Yeah, and the book. I don't know if you read the book as well. The book.
Never read the book.
No, his name. Anyway, it's a brilliant book. The book itself is also really goes into all that kind of like his. It's all from his point of view. So there's that, and there's also a zombie horror. Got to do a zombie horror called Beneath, which is a bunch of urban explorers who are sort of desperate to get on this old Ministry of Defence land, and they keep getting like caught by the Ministry of Defence workers. Told get off, you're going to get prosecuted next time. So they've worked out a way of getting to it by going through loads of old tunnels. So that's my fear of enclosed spaces. And they get in and they discover that the whole thing is it's like loads of experimental stuff during the 60s, the Cold War and everything. So you've got like the whole, we're kind of working out the whole way of doing it. So the idea is it's shot first person, because because I love Blair Witch, but the thing that always got me about Blair Witch is the fact that after a while you chuck that camera away and run. You're carrying a 16mm camera on your shoulder, running, looking at things. But if you've already got like a GoPro on your forehead and it's filming everything you do, then you can't look away, and everything that goes against that, looking away, looking back, and it's there. But also the idea is that when people get caught and turned into zombies, you see from the zombies' point of view as well.
Oh wow.
So that kind of like that whole camera moving through, like seeing different like things, and you see from the killer's point of view, and from the zombies' point of view, and from the victim's point of view. So the zombie and victim. That also kind of ties in. A friend of mine, he's a friend of the family. He's a former rail worker, so he knows loads of what. He's always going down loads of old little tunnels and culverts and things. So that's what kind of gave me the idea. He's always sharing these videos of, this is me down this dark culvert, and I'm like, yeah, there's got to be a zombie at the end of that. Uh-huh. And like sticking all of those together and mixing them with some set builds, some virtual sets, some like you could like build like a really long tunnel going all the way through, and then places that they end up coming out, and again it's that whole stuck, trapped, uh-huh. And stuck underneath, and stuck beneath, and unable to call for help because you're not supposed to be there. It's all that that kind of idea. So yeah, that's the other one we're sort of toying with, and there's a couple of other projects which I've co-written with a couple of people. Thorns, which is another home invasion horror, and Hostage, which is a thriller that I've been trying to get off the ground. So
you're a busy man, John. You're a busy man.
I just like most independent filmmakers, I've got about 5 or 6 projects that I'm all in various plate spinning, getting ready, and then just whichever one drops first. That's the thing with this kind of budget level. You just got to have options. You just have loads and loads of options, and whichever one somebody picks up first, that's the one you're doing.
So I never really framed this properly at the start of our episode. I never do this. This is my weakness, learning to do all of this. But the episode or the podcast is called "What the Fuck Is Wrong with Us," and usually I would finish by asking like, in one sentence, given that you like to create these dark stories and terrify people and thrill them, like, what the fuck would you say is wrong with you?
I just love to shop. I just love to get a reaction. I get a real kick out of it. I get a real kick out of the reaction.
John, I have to commend you in that you're basically one of the only people who's answered that question and not went, no, there's nothing wrong with me. It's perfectly normal. It's fine. So
I'll elaborate. When my wife was pregnant with my Poppy, who's my third daughter, I had the other kid. I had two of the other kids at home, and we did this thing called we played Tickle Monster, right? But this is what it involves: switch all the lights off in the house and put on the Aliens soundtrack as loud as it goes, and chase them around the dark house. And they absolutely loved it. And I kept saying, they'd be like screaming in terror. Like I'd be like hiding down one end of the corridor with a torch under my chin, and they'd like go, "Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy?" And they come out and I go like that, and they'd be literally screaming in terror. And I go, "Do you want to stop?" And they go, "No, carry on." And they still talk about it. I mean, they're both, one's 19 now. George is going into acting himself, and Katie May, who's 15 now. And they still talk about it. They still go, "Oh my God, I can't remember. I can never forget that time we just did that thing where you were like," and I was like going outside the house and banging on the window and like really getting into it, like making zombie noises. They were like hiding in their bedroom, and I'd be like coming outside, going banging on the door. And they just said it's one of the best times. But again, it comes back to that thing. It's just like shot, to shop, and like that we love that kind of thing. We love being scared. As long as it's in control, as long as they went, And she was like, what? When my wife, she went, "You did what?" She could and I said it was the best time because you build that kind of imaginary world for them. But they're going to get, monsters coming together with that soundtrack playing really loud. I don't know what the neighbours thought, but yeah. But yeah, that's what's mean to me. I love to shop. So
it sounds like there's a pretty good film in Tickle Monster. It'd be somewhat. There's some inappropriateness that would need to be sort of sanded off the edges of it, but there's a concept there.
Like that. That's it. I think that's the joy. That's the joy of being a parent. I think they like that kind of stuff. They love that. Kids love that. I mean that's that's the thing. Like obviously love being a father and like that whole coming to get you kind of thing. And they love it. The kids love that. I mean, we're talking about giants, and they say giants are your dad and witches are your mum. When you're a kid, they think that whole monsters is because think about it. You're how much bigger you are than a child, and it's that kind of the kids love being chased, and I suppose that's kind of that thing.
From the off, we have it.
Right from the end. That circles back to the whole thing you were saying. Yeah, they love that, and you're like, "Oh, do we have to?" You're like knackered, and they're like, "Yeah, no, come and chase us in the garden again," and you're like, "God, all right." Oh, you love it, but that's they all of the games are around that kind of thing, and camping out. I remember one time they were camping out in the tent at night, and I got a Bluetooth speaker, I put it in the hedge and played Monster Noises through from my phone. Yeah, they didn't like that.
No,
but then again,
no.
Like that. That was I was like that. Yeah, I was stuck like a Bluetooth speaker in there. And I'm like that in the patio going, like that one. Try that one. Try that one. They were like, "Ah!" But they knew it was me. They were like, "Yeah, Dad. Yeah, Dad. It's you." I thought it was a brilliant gag.
That is pretty good. So where can people find your stuff?
Well, 4 is on Netflix.
Excellent.
So that's my first feature on Netflix, and 13 Graves is on Amazon Prime, a free to view on Amazon Prime. That was it's been on there for a little while. So if you have Amazon Prime membership or Netflix membership, you can watch both. So that's where you can find my stuff.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been nice catching up after a long time.
Yeah. Sorry, alarm going off. Sorry.
Don't worry. And yeah, thank you to everyone who's been listening and watching at home. This is What the Fuck Is Wrong With Us. See you next episode.
Brilliant.